You've heard angelic voices in old church music, but what if I told you some of those voices didn't come naturally? They were created through a brutal, irreversible act. This is one of the most haunting and hidden chapters in music history. In this video, you'll learn how thousands of boys were altered physically and socially to become Europe's most celebrated singers. They were called Castrati, the voices of angels, trapped in bodies that never grew up. So if you're drawn to the strange and true history, like this video and subscribe to Mysterious Anecdotes, because the past is full of dark secrets, and we're just getting started. In 17th and 18th century Italy, music wasn't just entertainment, it was divine. Churches and opera houses demanded voices that felt like they came straight from heaven, high, light, powerful, voices that could float above the sound of dozens of instruments. But there was a catch. Boys only had that voice for a few short years. Once puberty hit, the magic was gone. For some families, especially poor ones, the chance at fame and wealth was worth almost anything. So they turned to a secret, brutal procedure to stop puberty from ever happening. The operation stopped the boy's voice from deepening by removing the reproductive organs responsible for the change, essentially castrating them, hence the name castrati. It was typically done between ages 7 and 10. There was no anesthesia, no real hospitals. Just crude tools, maybe wine or snow for numbness. An estimated 4,000 boys a year in 18th century Italy underwent this. Many boys, about 20%, didn't survive. Those who did were forever changed. Most came from poor families. The dream was always the same. Maybe our son will become the next Farinelli. But the odds were terrible. For every star there were hundreds who suffered in silence. Never famous, never remembered. Now let's talk about the lucky few. The boys who survived and had true vocal talent became Europe's biggest stars, known as castrati, and they were treated like rock stars. No exaggeration, they wore silks, jewels, capes. Nobles showered them with gifts. They were mobbed by fans, followed in the streets. One castrato had to escape a theater through underground tunnels, just to avoid being crushed by fans. Their voices? Unbelievable. They could hit notes that most men and women couldn't reach. Their lungs were huge, their chests were wide. They could sing for longer and louder than almost anyone and command entire stages. Farinelli was the most famous of them all, was adored across Europe. He sang for kings and queens and at one point was paid a royal salary just to sing lullabies to a depressed monarch every night. Even the Catholic Church, which didn't allow women to sing in its choirs, embraced the castrati. They called their voices heavenly and let them sing in sacred spaces like the Sistine Chapel. It was a strange mix of glory and grief, fame on stage, but a price paid forever. Vatican choirs used castrati until 1903. So, what happened off stage? Let's just say, not every castrato lived like a star. Most of the boys never made it to fame. If their voice wasn't good enough, they might sing in small churches, teach music, or honestly just be forgotten entirely. Even those who did succeed faced stigma. Because they never went through puberty, many developed long limbs, soft features, and, no facial hair. People stared, some whispered cruel names, many couldn't marry, they couldn't have children, and often they didn't feel like they belonged anywhere. One singer kept a diary. In it, he wrote about feeling lonely, ashamed, and used. He wrote, "I'm adored on stage and forgotten at home." Even Farinelli, the superstar, eventually retired young. He lived alone in a villa, surrounded by portraits and memories of a life shaped by sacrifice. The world praised them when they performed, but when the curtain closed, they were often left behind. By the late 1800s, public opinion shifted. New opera styles came in. People started questioning the ethics behind the castrato system. Italy officially banned the practice in 1870, but one place held on, the Vatican. They still employed castrati in their sacred choir into the 20th century, and by 1900 only one remained, Alessandro Moreschi. He sang at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome. His voice was described as eerie, trembling, fragile, but, still full of power. In 1902, a visitor brought a phonograph, the first recording device, and captured Moreschi singing. It's the only surviving voice of a castrato ever recorded. In 1903, Pope Pius X officially banned the use of castrati in the choir. Moreschi retired quietly and died in 1922. With him, the voice of a centuries-old tradition finally went silent. The castrati were created to serve, to sound perfect no matter the cost. They were revered on stage, but often forgotten off it. Their voices filled cathedrals and opera halls, but behind every note was a boy who had no choice. If this tale struck a chord, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe to Mysterious Anecdotes, where forgotten voices, lost legends, and the eerie side of history always take center stage, because the past isn't dead, it's just waiting to be heard again.